Today we are going to be doing a movie recap of a comedy, action drama movie titled The Family Plan. Before we hurry into this video, do well to hit the subscribe button because it means a lot to me. Dan Morgan is a gifted car salesman living a quiet life in the suburbs of Buffalo, New York with his wife Jessica and their 3 kids Nina, Kyle, and Max. The couple celebrate their 18th wedding anniversary at Darien Lake, and when the two share an intimate moment, a bully takes a selfie with them in it. He and his friends mock Dan when he tells them to delete it. When the bully tries to provoke Dan to fight him, Dan declines and is further humiliated. The next day, Dan is grocery shopping with Max when he's attacked, defending himself in hand-to-hand combat with Max still strapped into a harness on him. After the attack, Dan contacts his former associate and document forger Augie to find out why he was attacked, and Augie suggests it's Dan's former employer McCaffrey and advises him to disappear just to be safe. Dan orders a new set of identity documents for him and his family. Dan goes to retrieve his kids from school and picks Jessica up from work, telling her they're taking a spontaneous road trip to Las Vegas. As they're leaving town, Dan recognizes that they're being followed and deduces that their family minivan has a tracker planted on it. He stops at his car dealership and uses one of the service bays to find and remove the device from the undercarriage. Meanwhile, McCaffrey and his team go through the Morgans' home but can't find any indication where they're headed, as Dan discarded everyone's cell phones to avoid being traced. Meanwhile, at their motel, another guest recognizes Kyle from his Twitch streams as Killboy and asks to take some selfies with him. Alarmed to know that those pictures will be posted and traced, Dan lies and says the motel is fully booked and moves his family along. Driving along the highway at night, Dan notices a group of agents on motorcycles watching for him from an overpass. Turning Inya up on the stereo to keep his family asleep, Dan leads the bikers on a high-speed chase, managing to fend off the bikers without anyone in the car noticing except Max. Dan drives through the night until they reach Iowa City. Excited, Nina begs them to check out the Southern Iowa University because she hopes to follow her boyfriend Trevor there rather than pursue her original goal of attending Stanford. Dan and Jessica decide to show Nina what college life is actually like, and that the enlightened feminist philosopher that Nina thinks all college students are is an illusion. As they pass by tailgaters outside of a football game, Jessica is mistaken for a student and challenged to do a keg stand, which she obliges, impressing Dan and the kids. During a campus tour, Dan notices a German man on his phone, believing he works for McCaffrey, though he realizes he's mistaken when they're attacked by another of McCaffrey's henchmen. Battling it out in one of the chemistry labs before incapacitating the man and rejoining his family on the tour. Before leaving campus, Nina manages to find Trevor's dorm only to learn he's cheating on her with another girl. Dan consoles her by giving her some tips on Kyusho Jitsu, which she then uses on Trevor in retribution. As they head westward, Dan grows closer to his family as he learns more about them. They arrive in Las Vegas, where Dan plans to tell Jessica the truth about his past over a romantic dinner. While they leave the kids to babysit Max in their penthouse suite, the kids take off with Max to walk to the Strip. They end up at HyperX, a major gaming convention, where Kyle runs into another gamer he recognizes from Twitch, and the gamer recognizes him back. Kyle is invited to sub in on the final round of a major competition and impresses the convention with his skill. When Dan and Jessica head back to their suite to check on the kids, they are attacked by McCaffrey's team. Dan quickly dispatches them, shocking Jessica, and they leave to find the kids at HyperX, where the rest of the team soon ambushes them. Dan, revealing his name to be Sean, finally comes clean to his family, who are outraged at his hypocrisy and lies. Dan nevertheless gives them their new passports and IDs, telling them that their lives in Buffalo are over. Jessica arranges for her and the kids to leave Las Vegas and tells Dan to stay away. The next morning, her friend Gwen arrives in a private jet to fly them home to Buffalo. On the plane, Gwen reveals she works for McCaffrey as well and hands Jessica and the kids over to him. He takes them hostage and instructs Dan to meet him at an abandoned hotel. Dan arrives and it's revealed that McCaffrey is Dan's father. McCaffrey asks Dan to rejoin him in the family business, but Dan rejects him. McCaffrey threatens to kill his family unless Dan accepts the offer. Dan relents, and Jessica and the kids are taken back to the airport to leave for Buffalo. The kids convince Jessica to help Dan. They return to the top floor where Gwen is attempting to seduce Dan. Dan uses Kyushu Jitsu to incapacitate Gwen and restrain her on the chair. McCaffrey realizes Dan's getting help and calls his army into the lobby of the hotel to recapture Dan. Dan engages the mercenaries while Jessica and the kids fight Gwen, culminating in Jessica using a piece of broken bamboo as a javelin to impale Gwen through the chest. Meanwhile, Dan has eliminated the mercenaries and is facing off against his dad. As McCaffrey gains the upper hand, Jessica and the kids arrive downstairs, and Nina attempts to appeal to McCaffrey's sense of family long enough for Dan to turn the tables when he hits him with a pole. The Morgans walk out of the hotel together, facing the Las Vegas Police Department surrounding the hotel. Sometime later, the Morgans have returned to their lives in Buffalo. Dan is now running his own security firm, using his skill set to advise clients how to better defend against attacks, while Jessica coaches high school track and field. Returning home, they load up into a rented RV, embarking on a cross-country road trip to drop Nina off at Stanford. Thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe and like button for more movie recaps.